Welcome to the stream. I am trying for the first time to stream simultaneously to both YouTube and Facebook Live. I already see that the YouTube Live is working. It's difficult for me to figure out. Let's see if I can check out whether Facebook Live is working, which would be really cool because these streams have only been on YouTube Live. And there's a whole other audience, nearly 75, 80 something thousand people on our Facebook page that it would be great to be reaching. So as far as I can see, both YouTube and Facebook Live are currently streaming. Although, again, it's hard for me to individually confirm that. So if anybody in the YouTube Live can tell me whether facebook.com/David Pakman Show is carrying the stream live, that would be really, really good. Okay, a few things real quick. If this is your first live stream, and again, I guess we're calling it a YouTube live stream, but we're at least attempting to also be live on Facebook. Number one, yes, we are really live unless you're watching a replay, but it is it is Tuesday, June 13th, 2017 at 9:01 p.m. Eastern Time. If that is the time right now, then I am really live. Super Chat is on YouTube. So on the YouTube stream, you can use the $ at the bottom of the chat window to send questions, comments, and they will be read. And it should be really sort of a tremendous thing. And that will get started very, very soon. Number 3, new members and patrons who sign up during the stream will get live shout outs and thank yous. davidpakman.com/membership for membership, patreon.com/David Pakman Show for Patreon. And lastly, and importantly, keep the trolling subtle, because obvious trolling will be, it'll get you banned. That's basically the long and short of it. Subtle trolling probably won't. So something to think about there. So I want to talk mostly about what's going on with Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who testified today. And this is not to pat myself on the back, because it was sort of obvious that this is going to be the way that it went. Exactly what I predicted yesterday is what took place, which is that on the one hand, Jeff Sessions showed up and was very forthcoming about all assertions that would make him and the Trump administration look good. Oh, conversations with Russians didn't happen, / I can't recall, / I don't remember. Conversations about how we are going to ease sanctions or whatever never happened, wasn't involved. My recusal has been total. Nobody at the Justice Department has been talking to me. But all of a sudden, when the questions start to get real from Angus King and Kamala Harris and so many other people, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to discuss that. That wouldn't be the right thing for me to talk about. And we're going to have full clips and analysis of this on the show tomorrow. But there were a few moments that I was particularly struck by. At one point, Senator Angus King, asked Jeff Sessions, explain why you're not answering some of these questions. And he asked Jeff Sessions, did President Trump exert executive privilege, saying you can't talk about these particular things? And Jeff Sessions said, no, he didn't. So Angus King then went and asked, well, if he didn't exert executive privilege, then why aren't you answering the questions? And Jeff Sessions gave this rambling, incoherent rant about how even though Trump didn't exert executive privilege, Jeff Sessions doesn't think it would be appropriate to answer questions because at some point in the future, Trump might exert executive privilege and that should be respected. And Angus King seemed bewildered. He seemed sort of like the guy who came in halfway through, not realizing that Jeff Sessions had been pulling this BS the entire time, and basically said, wait, so why aren't you answering the questions? And Jeff Sessions went on, must have been 45 or 60 seconds, and it was incoherent. No, Trump did not exert executive privilege. But out of respect to his right to possibly in the future assert executive privilege, I am now going to choose not to answer certain questions. And as Angus King pointed out, completely incoherent, absolutely and completely incoherent explanation as to why Jeff Sessions just isn't going to answer anything he doesn't want to answer. Then Senator Kamala Harris from California got an opportunity to question Jeff Sessions, and it was similarly bizarre. I mean, really difficult to understand what it was Jeff Sessions was talking about. Kamala Harris started asking Jeff Sessions about contacts with Russia. And Jeff Sessions gave a complete non-answer, saying, I didn't have those conversations. Well, I don't recall having those conversations, although it's possible that there might have been incidental conversations, broadly speaking, about ways in which we might improve our relations with Russia, which I think would be a good thing. Wait a second. You didn't have the conversations? Or you don't remember having conversations, but you might have had them, or it's possible that you had conversations which were generally about improving relations with Russia, which it seems would sort of be done by easing sanctions on them, right, Jeff? Isn't that what we're figuring out from Mike Flynn and the entire thing? So it is just stunning that these non-answers and I don't recall were considered acceptable. And the truth is, they weren't acceptable to everybody on those panels. And Kamala Harris, similarly to Angus King, going down the same road, saying, okay, so why aren't you asking questions? Jeff Sessions then with Kamala Harris took a slightly different approach, saying something along the lines of, well, as the people who testified last week decided to do, it's sort of our policy not to answer questions when they relate to certain types of conversations. And at that moment, I was, and I vindicated. The writing was on the wall. Last week, when NSA Director Mike Rogers and DNI Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates and Andrew McCabe and Rod Rosenstein, they showed up last week and did the exact same thing, which was they don't want to answer the question, they don't answer it. Is it classified? No. Did Trump exert executive privilege to prevent the testimony? No, I just don't want to testify. And Angus King last week asked Dan Coates, what's the legal basis for your refusal to answer these questions? And Dan Coates said, I don't think I have a legal basis. I told you yesterday, or maybe it was the day before on the live stream, that is going to be the precedent for Jeff Sessions not answering questions. And that is exactly what he pulled with Kamala Harris, where he said, it's the policy of the Justice Department just not to answer these questions. And Kamala Harris was astute. She said, well, is that a policy that is in writing? Is that a policy that you discussed before coming in? And Jeff Sessions didn't really have an answer. It was like, well, I know that it's the policy. But was it discussed? Well, it was. Is it in writing? It's an unspoken policy that we didn't discuss. So basically what Jeff Sessions is saying is, I just don't want to answer questions that could potentially make me look bad. And it was every bit as pathetic and embarrassing as I predicted. And I just, I wish that I had been wrong and that it was going to go a different way, and Jeff Sessions was going to show up and appear to be forthcoming, and it was total willingness to deny every connection that he was asked about. But all of a sudden, he doesn't remember when it comes to key questions. And all of a sudden, that's not something that I think I should be talking about for no legal reason, and without executive privilege having been asserted. And one of the key aspects of this that was, it regularly came up, and at the time I didn't think it was a great line of questioning because we knew what Jeff Sessions was going to say. Jeff Sessions time and again dismissed the assertion of former FBI Director James Comey made last week that Jeff Sessions had potentially a third unreported meeting with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak at the Mayflower Hotel in April of 2016. Jeff Sessions basically said, listen, there were a lot of people there, and incidentally, I might have sort of shaken hands, but nothing took place which could have even been misinterpreted as an aside or a private meeting, because that would have attracted a lot of attention. And already, if you're watching live on YouTube, check out the link to the week.com article in the description to the stream. Already a picture of, again, it's all what appears. It appears as though in this picture, Jeff Sessions is having a semi-private aside conversation with Russian ambassador to the United States, Sergei Kislyak. This is a picture now, okay? This is not assertions. This is now a picture. Now you could say, well, the picture is a still shot, and it's not a wide enough picture to see whether there are people around and when this could be considered private, public, or semi-private. We also, because it's just a picture, we don't know how long it lasted. But again, we never hear an assertion made about Trump-Russia collusion and then discover that it's false. There have been assertions made whose truth we have not yet confirmed, and there's been assertions made that have been confirmed. And yet again, we are now one baby step closer already to confirming as true something that Jeff Sessions attempted to deny completely during the hearing today. So we're going to get into more of the details of this on the program tomorrow. I'm going to have video clips. And in the midst of this, by the way, Donald Trump's disapproval rating has hit another new high at 60%. 60% of Americans now disapprove of the job that President Donald Trump is doing, and this is going to start having an impact. This is going to start having an impact on other Republicans in terms of their willingness to support Trump or maybe start saying what they really feel. If you look at the Gallup Daily Tracking Poll, that is back down to statistically Trump's presidency low, 36%. He was once at 35%, but of course, with a 3% margin of error, Trump effectively at his lowest approval rating. And as reported by The Hill earlier today, Donald Trump's disapproval rating now at 60%, and that will become a legislative problem for Donald Trump. The travel ban, the majority Muslim country travel ban, rejected again by now the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in California. The Mexican wall that he promised is nowhere on the horizon. Who's talking about that bogus tax plan at this point? Haven't heard a word about it for 3, 4, 5 weeks at this point. That's at a standstill. Trump's repeal and replacement of the Affordable Care Act, none of it's happening. I mean, the guy is doing none of the things that he promised. And while he still has a Republican base, a Trumpist base that is going to support him indefinitely, this is trouble. This is problematic, and I don't know, are we going to get into the low 30s? Are we going to see 32 or 31? I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, let me get to some of the super chats. If you're just joining us, please note the dollar symbol below the chat window. And you will see that you can send super chats, and those will appear prominently. And if you have a comment or question, I can take those questions and answer them. I will also mention before I jump into that, number one, if you are so kind and generous as to sign up for a membership at davidpakman.com/membership during the stream, excuse me, getting emotional about membership. I will do live shout outs and thank yous and sing your praises to everybody who signs up for membership live during the stream. You can, if you want, on the second sign up page, after hitting the red sign up button, you'll be taken to page 2 of the sign up process. You can get a 40% discount by using the coupon code IVoted17. Thank yous upcoming. Please do sign up. This is how we're funded, okay? We're mostly funded by people like you. It's not random people that we never see or hear about. It's people like you watching the stream right now that fund our show. Also, you can make a pledge of as little as $1 per month. Even $1 a month helps. At patreon.com/David Pakman Show, we are trying to get to 2,000 patrons, already over 1,500. I will also do live shout outs and thank yous to everybody who makes a pledge at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. So let's get to the super chats. Floppy Kid has sent a $5 Canadian super chat. What are your thoughts on J. Kennedy III? Too young, or is he the kind of energetic leadership Democrats need to carry a message? Also has the Kennedy gene. Sort of two thoughts on that. On the one hand, you're talking about a serious and successful political dynasty in the Kennedys. At the same time, I think we're seeing sort of more antipathy towards family political dynasties than we've seen for some time. So more Kennedys, I don't know, could be interesting. It's something that remains to be seen. GR has sent a $10 super chat. GR, of course, as I will be announcing soon, has sponsored 6 memberships that we will be announcing a little contest for upcoming. GR sending a message saying, DZ, 30 days be farther back in history, they bout to let me see. Email coming back to me, but doubt it bout to help us, D. Sessions for life. Best interview for Foot Locker I ever watched on TV. And unfortunately, as is often the case with GR's super chats, I don't know what on earth you're talking about, GR, but I do appreciate the contribution, and he has been a longtime supporter via super chat of the David Pakman Show. And lastly, David Parks has sent a $2 super chat. No comment or question. Thank you very much. Okay, let me dig into a couple of other things that we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So as I mentioned, the Jeff Sessions testimony, absolute and total embarrassment. We'll be talking about that on the program tomorrow. We will have clips of Angus King leaving Jeff Sessions incoherently ranting and unable to explain simple concepts. Senator Kamala Harris, who asked Jeff Sessions questions that, again, he was unwilling to answer, and then gave a completely incoherent explanation as to why he was unwilling to answer those questions. Trump disapproval has hit 60%, a record for the Trump presidency. We also have, yet again, I know it's going to sound like Groundhog's Day, because this is a story that we do over and over and over again, but there are now 5 men who own as much wealth as half the world's population. And you can talk about wealth inequality from a moral perspective, but I actually don't think that that's the best way to get the broadest possible appeal when we're talking about wealth inequality. Wealth inequality is economically a disaster. And now we have 5 men, one of whom is, of course, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, who own as much wealth as basically half of the world's population. And we're going to talk about the economic impacts of that. And I do have to address what is now a widely reported story that Donald Trump is considering firing special prosecutor in the Trump-Russia scandal, Robert Mueller. And I know that the initial reaction from all is, wait a second. He couldn't possibly get away with that. There is no way that Donald Trump could get away with that, right? I don't know about that. I'm going to be addressing that tomorrow and sort of in the context of everything that's going on. Although Congressman Adam Schiff has tried to, he's the ranking member on the House Intelligence Panel investigating Trump-Russia, which is a completely ridiculous investigation that has been disgraced at this point. Adam Schiff has replied, if the president fires Bob Mueller, Congress would immediately reestablish independent counsel and appoint Robert Mueller again. Don't waste our time. And tomorrow on the show, we will discuss, is that possible? Is that something that they would actually be able to do? I also want to talk about nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is something that actually much of our even admittedly progressive audience is split on. There are those who say no nuclear energy, we should be moving off of fossil fuels and completely to renewable, clean, alternative forms of energy. There are some progressives, however, who say actually we should be pushing nuclear energy because despite the things that could happen with nuclear energy in terms of when things go wrong. Nuclear energy is actually very, very safe, and it makes sense for progressives to push for getting off of fossil fuels, getting on nuclear while we develop alternative energy. And what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, if we have time for it on the show, because there's a lot of news, and at 4:55 a.m. this morning, more news could break if you're going to be watching Twitter at that time. I don't know that we need the nuclear energy. So I think that it's actually a moot debate among the left on nuclear energy. Going to be talking about that and many, many other things. Okay, so all of that upcoming on tomorrow's program. Now, I've only previewed for you the broadcast show. The broadcast show is an hour a day. And we take that hour and we chop it up into 3 to 8 minute clips, and we publish them to the YouTube channel every 90 minutes. That's how you might be used to watching the clips of the show. You can get that full hour by roughly 4 p.m. Eastern time every day, instead of waiting for individual clips to publish, if you become a David Pakman Show member at davidpakman.com/membership. We also do an entire additional show called The Bonus Show every single day. There's the regular show. We do that with peace and love. Fantastic. But then there is an extra show called The Bonus Show, which is available to all members. It's more laid back. We do more behind-the-scenes stories, more tech and medical stories. It's tremendous. It's really the best bonus show that I could imagine. Okay, so that is something that is available to you if you so choose by signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. And there is a coupon code if you want a discount. That code is IVoted17. Let's get back into the super chats. Frank McWright has sent a $20 super chat. We knew Sessions would say no collusion. Can't trust him like we can't trust Vladimir Putin. It feels like nothing moved today, forwards or backwards. Am I missing something? Surely there is Russia collusion outside of hacking, yes? You are completely right, Frank, that nothing has moved forward as a result of the Jeff Sessions testimony. What is going to be the result of this testimony? Well, Jeff Sessions, very willing to be forthcoming when it comes to ways in which he can deny collusion or coordination with Russia. Didn't talk to this person, didn't talk to that person, wasn't briefed about this, wasn't briefed about that. At the same time, he refused to answer the types of questions that might actually have illuminated more about what it seems only Democrats care about finding out. So nothing moved forward. Trump will say, I presume, that Jeff Sessions did great. Jeff Sessions and other Trump associates will say, Jeff Sessions showed up, he answered questions, blah, 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 blah. And then Democrats will point only to Jeff Sessions not being willing to answer certain questions. So Frank, you are completely correct. Just nothing moved forward or backwards, but there is now something else to talk about if you are the White House and someone to point to. Getty Germany has sent a €2 super chat saying, do not forget Mr. Kabfefi Act. Kabfefi Act. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it's interesting to say the least. Hobbitten has sent a £5 British super chat. As someone whose first language is Spanish, does it annoy you that Trump's English is so much worse than yours? Not only that, he's been speaking English for decades longer than I have. And, that's a compliment I'll take. I do believe that my English is better than Donald Trump's. Thank you very much. Creighton Drescher has sent a $5 super chat asking whether John McCain is going senile or dementia is setting in. I don't know the answer to that, but what I can tell you is that John McCain, sorry, dementia got me thinking about Donald Trump. John McCain's line of questioning to former FBI Director James Comey last week was downright bizarre, trying to draw this false equivalence between the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the Trump-Russia investigation. It was bizarre. It was truly, really weird. But I don't know about senility or dementia. Sort of tough to say. Getty Germany sent a €5 super chat saying, not heard about the Kabfefi Act, a law put on the table to make social media of the president part of the president's communication rule set. That's interesting. Let me make a note of that. It's not something I've read about so far. but I will make a note to check that out. Very, very interesting. Okay, let me get to some thank yous before we get too backed up on these. At patreon.com/David Pakman Show, I want to tell you about two really, really great people. I could sort of channel Sean Hannity and say these are great Americans, but I don't know if they're American, and it doesn't matter because they're supporting the David Pakman Show. Jonathan Dana has just pledged $2 a month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. That's $24 per year, okay? Is this show worth $24 a year to you? If it is, consider making a $2 a month pledge. Roland Pop, a fantastic person, has just pledged $2 per month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. If the show is worth $12 a year to you, pledge $1 per month at davidpakman.com. I'm sorry, at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. That works out to roughly 0.006 cents per video that we, I'm sorry, no, 0.6 of a cent. Excuse me, I spoke incorrectly. 0.6 of a cent per video that we do. It's a pretty good deal compared to what you might be paying for cable. And also a few thank yous to new members who have signed up while we have been chatting here. Jillian McDaniel has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership using the coupon code IVoted17, which saves her 40% but gets her 100% of the member benefits. Gloria Merrill has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership while we've been talking. Corey Vasquez. Corey, amazing, has signed up for a level 2 membership without using the coupon code at all. And Charles Levine, or maybe it's Levine, I don't want to pronounce it incorrectly, has also signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Thank you. It really means a lot when people sign up when we do the streams and when we don't do the streams, because we are dealing with, as you may know, a 66% deficit in YouTube ad revenue. It's bad. It's really bad. And I always try to frame everything as positive and going swimmingly. But the YouTube advertiser boycott is problematic. The New York Times wrote a very good article about this, about not just the YouTube ad boycott, but about our channel specifically. There is a New York Times article about the David Pakman Show by Amanda Hess called How YouTube's Shifting Algorithms Hurt Independent Media. And I would encourage you to check that out. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please check it out. To quote Donald Trump, you need to know what the hell is going on. You really, really do. And then you can make a decision about whether, given the circumstances, you feel that it is worth making a contribution to the show. Okay, let's get to a few other super chats here. Jean-Sebastian has sent 2 10 Mexican dollar super chats. Thanks very much, John Sebastian. Very, very much appreciate that. That is very, very much appreciated. What else can I say? What do we have coming up on the program? I don't know if you saw this, because you would have if you were a member or listened on the radio or to the podcast or will be watching on Free Speech TV tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Today I interviewed, this was such a fantastic interview. We did a 2-part interview. Part 1 was on today's broadcast show, Part 2 on tomorrow's show, with James Underdown. James Underdown is a professional debunker. He's been on Dr. Phil, posing as a fake psychic. The whole concept of a fake psychic and a real psychic, by the way, is hilarious, but skip that for now. James Underdown, who I interviewed today, went on Dr. Phil and said, hey, listen, this whole psychic thing is bogus. I'm not a psychic. I'll pretend to be one and people will fall for it. And people did. He then investigated a so-called faith healing for the Oprah Winfrey television network on a program called, I think it's Medical Miracles or something like that. And I interviewed him today, and it was absolutely fascinating, the stories that he told us and everything that he discussed today. So that interview is going to be going live. It's about a 25-minute interview in total. That's going to be going live on our YouTube channel in a day or two. And similar to, so James Randi, another skeptic, has $1 million prize from the James Randi Foundation if anybody can prove in a controlled scientific environment some supernatural or paranormal ability. And James Underdown's organization, admittedly a smaller organization, has a similar $100,000 prize, okay? And super, super interesting interview. So that's going on today and tomorrow. On Thursday, I'm going to be interviewing Corey Stamper, and we're going to be talking about what does it take for words to become words in terms of being included into dictionaries. And this is both political. It relates to the issue of political correctness, which is something that we've also been talking about. It relates to social media. So it's sort of a weird topic, but I think you're going to enjoy it. And then Monday, this is major, okay? Monday, we are releasing a stunning video about political correctness. And my prediction is that if you go into it with an open mind, you will find a lot of value in this long form. It's going to be roughly, I think, 16 minutes about political correctness in the United States, in the West, really. If you go into it with an open mind, I think you will find that I am not dismissive of either of the two sides on this, one side being political correctness has become oppressive, and we are having our speech stifled by so-called political correctness. The other side being, no, we need to be more active in policing how people speak. And I think that it is going to be a video that everybody will find something they agree with. And hopefully it will discuss the issue in a fair and full way, sort of what we're not getting when it comes to Trump-Russia investigations. We're going to be doing that on Monday, and I predict that this will be one of the more popular long-form videos that we will have done. So that's something to look forward to, and a lot of really, really good other interviews that are going to be coming up, and I look forward to telling you about those. Let me jump back into Super Chat for a little bit. We've got a $10 Super Chat from GR who says, it's time, bonus show or Comey Flow don't own up to we who call that session's testimony just a session full of old baloney. Stanky like Trump, the nasty face, so orange he matches the prison jammies. Okay. Well, there's that. Thanks very much for that, GR. I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding it, but I think that there's definitely something there. And, I just don't get it, because when GR sends emails, they're so coherent and even relatively concise. And then I don't know what happens when it comes to the super chats, but it starts to get very, very odd. Very, very strange indeed. Okay, here's a question that I want to pose to you, because I've been talking a little bit more lately about the need for Democrats and progressives, using the term sort of interchangeably, although they are not the exact same thing. The need for Democrats and progressives to be more than just the anti-Trump wing of the political spectrum, because being the I'm not that guy position, being in that position, rarely works. Didn't work for John Kerry in 2004, should have worked. George W. Bush's approval rating was a disaster at the time. Trump's is even worse, by the way. And I've been arguing that Democrats really need to rally around some issues, and they need to rally around them in a way that will actually resonate not only with progressives, but also with independents and ideally some conservatives. So talking about everybody should have health care doesn't mean single payer, but although that's what I would want, but everyone should have health care. And it is a patriotic duty to provide that, and it is good for everybody for us to provide that. It is a failing for us not to make sure everybody in our country has health care. The climate change and environment. Stop talking about it as scientific counterpoint, okay? We know what the science is. If you've not already been convinced by the science, you're not going to be, right? So the left needs to stop talking about climate change in the terms that it has been with conservatives and make it, again, a moral, patriotic, and economic issue of dealing with the crisis to the environment. These are just some examples, okay? So we're thinking of whether it would make sense to do some kind of broader piece, maybe another show segment, like a regular show segment, or maybe a longer form piece about this issue, about how progressives must have a platform, what that platform should be, and what the path forward needs to be in terms of communicating these ideas to those on the right and in the middle. Is that interesting? Is that something you think we should be doing? If it is, let me know. Let me know, and that's something we can start working on and exploring further. If you think that we've talked about that enough, I don't know how someone could necessarily come to that conclusion given what's going on right now. Then tell me, hey, David, I don't think you need to be talking about that. But I see, and I started saying this, I think it was November. What was the date when the protests started after the election of Donald Trump? I believe it must have been November 12th, that first Saturday. I started saying it then. The energy is great. The focus and the messaging sucks. And unless the left can get the energy together productively, then a lot of this energy is going to be wasted. It is going to be spent energy with no results. And so I think that this is a really important thing. And that's something we're absolutely going to be talking about more in some way, shape, or form. Whether we do it via a long form piece or not, I'm sort of flexible. Okay, if you are just joining us, this is a live stream, assuming it's 9:36 p.m. Eastern Time on June 13th, 2017. You otherwise might be watching a replay of the live stream. Number two, because it is live, you are able to ask questions and make comments to me directly. The mechanism for doing so is called Super Chat. Super Chat is triggered, for lack of a better term, by using the $ below the chat window. Super Chat questions and comments will be read. We've already had, a dozen or so such comments and questions come through Super Chat. Number three, if you sign up for membership during the stream or make a Patreon pledge during the stream, which is how we fund our show and the studio and logistics and connectivity and staff salaries and everything that we do, you will get a live thank you from me. And I've already issued a few and there are more coming. Membership is at davidpakman.com/membership. Patronage is at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. All right. And please, obvious trolling and hate will get you banned. The very, very professional team of moderators that we have has been fully deputized. They know what it is that we are looking for in terms of comments. And they have been deputized and are allowed to block people at will. And they will. And some people have already been blocked during this stream. Okay. So keep that in mind. And let me get back into the super chats a little bit here. Then we will do some thank yous. Winky Dink Media has sent a $5 super chat. Your pal GR is spitting political bars like some rap star previously scarred by Trump's cabinet climbing out of a clown car. See, is that the same thing? Is that also supposed to be one of these rhyming concepts that GR is using? I genuinely can't tell. Jean Sebastian has sent another 10 Mexican dollar super chat. The third one, thank you very much. Appreciate it. No question or comment. Alexander Bergman has sent a $5 super chat. I believe Trump-Russia has been overblown and that Trump is too stupid to collude with Russia. Saudi-Trump connections more promising. Debate Kyle. Yeah, there's somebody called into the show last week saying, will I debate Kyle Kulinski about Trump-Russia? And I said, what is there to debate? You could differ as to how much energy should be placed into these investigations. The investigations are going on, and the investigations will at some point come to some conclusion, and we'll find out what did or didn't happen. If the investigations will happen fully and fairly, there's really nothing to debate unless the debate is how much time should the left be focused on this. And as I've been talking about, you're right, Alexander, that it might lead to nothing. It might lead to nothing. And as a result, Democrats need something for 2018 and 2020 that stands alone of Trump. And here's the thing. if the Trump-Russia investigation leads to a disaster for Trump and he resigns or is impeached, you're no longer running against Trump in 2018 or 2020. You need something other than being against Trump. If Trump-Russia falls through and there's nothing there, you still need something else because you can't keep talking about Trump-Russia if Trump is cleared and all Trump associates are cleared. So no matter what you believe about Trump-Russia, you need a platform if you're on the left, and that's what I've been talking about for a while. Creighton Drescher has sent a $5 super chat. Can you say hi to my daughter Maila or Mayla? Myla? To my horror, saw Trump in President's Book for 45th. If he gets impeached, will they remove him from all books? No, I don't believe so. I don't believe that he would be removed because he still would have been president from January 20th, 2017 until whenever, right? Well, I guess we'll see. Nikki Narates has sent a $10 super chat. Reduce meat consumption or try to go vegan to help the environment, especially since the government doesn't care. Thanks for the show as always, and tell Pat I said hi, please. All right, Nikki says hi to Pat. A good message. I am not vegan nor vegetarian, but I do believe in reducing meat consumption, and I try to adhere more to a Mediterranean type diet. And yeah, what else can I say? I'm mostly off of. I stopped eating pork and lamb, which are two of the. If you look at how much the carbon footprint of different meats, pork and lamb are at the very, very top. I've cut those out. Also, pigs are basically as smart as dogs. And I know it sounds sort of silly, but I wouldn't eat a dolphin. I wouldn't eat a whale. I wouldn't eat a dog, all intelligent mammals. So I'm not going to eat pigs either. And also because of a pig's digestion system, it's not particularly healthy to eat pork. So anyway, I've gone that far. Do I ever see myself going vegan? I really don't. I really don't. Do I see myself going vegetarian? I could do that. I could absolutely do that. But I don't know that I'm going to do it right now. All right. $5 super chat from One True Name. David, the left is already sending the economic messaging. It's the Hillary wing of the DNC, which prefers the corporate money model instead. Okay, One True Name. Here's where you're right and here's where you're wrong. You are right that there is a solid economic message from the non-corporate Democrat wing of the Democratic Party. The problem is that they are not doing a good enough job of using language to talk about their economic message in a way that will be more relevant to both moderates and to some conservatives who likely will be disaffected by the bogus supply-side economic ideas of Republicans. And I think that that's where the economic messaging needs to be framed more as an issue of nationalism and patriotism. Although I've been critical of those ideologies when they are damaging, if we can use the concepts to talk more effectively about progressive policy on economic issues, I am absolutely all for it. So you're right in one way, you're wrong in another way. GR has sent a $5 super chat. Winky Dink Media thinks his S don't stink, but it's twice that boy ought to think for popping off at GR's Inc. I think I actually got the rhyming of that one somewhat correct. And for that, I think we can all be very, very happy. Okay, let me catch up on thank yous. If I fall too far behind, then I have to do 5 straight minutes of thank yous, and I don't want to do that. Let's start with Patreon. Patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Here is my question to you. If I told you that 2/3 of our YouTube channel's revenue disappeared overnight because of the YouTube advertiser boycott, but that you could make up for it and more by making a pledge of only $1 a month or 0.6 of a penny per video that we publish to YouTube, would you do it? Would that be valuable to you? An individual who goes by the name of Quiet Menace feels that the answer is yes, because Quiet Menace has just pledged $1 a month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Rebecca Townsend has just pledged $1 per month at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Thank you to both of you, genuinely and seriously, because we are doing everything we can to make up for this lost revenue. I have big plans to expand the David Pakman Show. Those plans were, I call it, temporarily interrupted by the YouTube advertiser boycott, and the way that that will just be a blip rather than a downturn, or a negative inflection point, as we might call it in the math world, is if we can replace that lost revenue. And Patreon, $1 at a time, is one way that we are doing it. And on that note, I also need to send a big thank you to Rebecca Townsend for signing up for a membership while we've been talking at davidpakman.com/membership. Rebecca opted to use the coupon code IVoted17, which you can enter on the second page of the sign up. Listen, this is not brain surgery, right? We've got some pretty big plans for the show for the next 6, 12, and 18 months. And if we can continue to build our financial base, we're going to do it. And we are starting to, on YouTube, get to the upper echelon of the progressive news and politics shows. Our channel for some time has been in the top 4 to 5% of YouTube at large. And as you will see if you look around on YouTube, there are many, many, many right-wing political talk channels that are doing incredibly well. And there are several, but not as many, progressive YouTube channels that are up in the 500,000 subscriber range, million subscriber range, 2 million subscriber range. Of course, the Young Turks up there, no doubt about it. We have major plans to continue the growth, but we do have to make up some of that lost revenue. So again, big thank you to Rebecca Townsend for signing up with the 40% discount code. Major thank you to David Hollins, who has signed up also at davidpakman.com/membership, opting to use the coupon code IVoted17. And you know what? People say, David, should I use the coupon code or not? I mean, I would like the discount, but I could afford the full price. It's your call. I'd rather have you involved at $3.60 a month rather than not at all. So whether it's $6 or $3 or whatever, get involved at any level that is comfortable for you. We've got a couple more super chats to get to here. Douglas Whitmore has sent a super chat. David, do you agree when a candidate divorces themselves from a party, labeled groupings and campaign on positive comprehensive message, they can be successfully elected? I'm having just a bit of trouble, Douglas, parsing this. Do I agree that when a candidate divorces themselves from party, labeled groupings, and instead campaign on positive comprehensive messages, they can be successfully elected? At the local level, absolutely. At the national level, we've not seen that yet. So I think the proof will be if it happens. Jean Sebastian has sent a $50 Mexican super chat. Why does Trump keep saying the U.S. has been taken advantage of by every country, while the U.S. has been the country exploiting the world for at least the past 70 years? Very well put question. Very well put question. And you're trying to apply logic to an illogical situation. This has not been a particularly, what should I call it, sensible aspect of Donald Trump's platform. I don't know. I mean, you know, the thing, John Sebastian, is Trump has no idea what you're talking about. If you went to Trump and said, the U.S. has been the one exploiting the world for the past 70 years, beyond that thing he said to Bill O'Reilly before O'Reilly lost his job about, hey, the U.S. has killed people too, when O'Reilly said something about Putin being a killer, Trump just doesn't really know that much about the history you're referring to. Alexander Bergman sent a $5 super chat. Does the $600 million Jeff Bezos CIA deal taint their coverage of Assange, Snowden, etc.? Also, do you subscribe to the Chomsky media propaganda model? By and large, I do subscribe to Chomsky's media propaganda model. I think that is one of the better parts of Noam Chomsky's work. So I am on board with that. You've got to follow the money, and I think that it is perfectly reasonable to question whether the coverage of Assange and Snowden is tainted by the $600 million Bezos CIA deal. No question about it. If that's not something you're familiar with, Google it. It's interesting to read about. Nikki Narates has sent a $5 super chat. I used to really enjoy Morality with Motamid. Ah, yes, I think you mean Motamedi, with an I on the end. Will you and Pat ever consider a similar segment in the future? I found it interesting. Here's what happened. I'll be totally upfront with you about what happened with Morality with Motamedi. And you can Google this segment. If you go to our YouTube channel and search Morality with Motamedi, you will find segments. We would present a moral dilemma, and we started with basic ones like the trolley problem and some simple medical ethics versions of the trolley problem. And then we moved on to some which would you rathers. And then we moved on whether you would act in one way or another in other types of situations. We sort of ran out of concepts because we came to a limit where we were repeating with different examples the same types of moral questions. Would you steal bread to feed your family, etc.? So I'm totally up for bringing it back, Nikki, but I would need to feel that we have a lot of material, because I don't want to just do it once and then say, hey, we're out of material again. Frank McWright has sent a very generous $20 super chat. I know this would require different gear, possibly personnel and extra time, but it would be great to see you do interviews and segments out in the field or on location. Think it would add a great dynamic to the show. Yeah, we do it every once in a while. Like around the primaries, we did it. We did it on election day. But I agree with you that it would be a really good thing, and we're not there yet in terms of doing it regularly, but it is something, I agree with you, Frank, would be a good thing to do. Adam Wilder has sent a very generous $20 super chat, which can be done with the $ at the bottom of the chat window. No question or comment. Thanks very much. I do appreciate that. Let me do another couple quick thank yous here, because I am, as often happens during these streams, falling behind. Major thank you to Roland Fikert. Roland Fikert has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Roland is an independent media hero, I am comfortable telling you. We have a 40% discount off of membership available to you. If you prefer to pay less, by all means, use the coupon code at davidpakman.com/membership. And I also want to send a thank you, a major thank you, to Frank McWright of Super Chat fame, who has pledged $2 per month at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. Please don't think that if you can only do $1 a month, you might as well not do anything, because after all, $1 isn't that much. If only 1 out of every 10 YouTube subscribers did the $1 a month pledge, we end the problem caused by the YouTube advertiser boycott instantly. So the dollars make a big difference. Cezi Canales has sent a $10 super chat. Peace be with you, David. Peace be with you. Well, thank you very much, Cezi. I appreciate that. BW85 has sent a $10 super chat. Looks like it's a two-parter. Please look into and consider doing a segment on what's been going on at Evergreen College. The divisiveness of identity politics is causing certain segments of the left to eat itself. Continued. Well, in the meantime, while you maybe put together part 2 of that super chat, I did get a call about the Evergreen College situation on the show last week. And I sort of talked about it then. And we just have, I mean, it's an interesting story, but it's been a pretty busy news week, so I have not gotten to that. And we may get to it later in the week. On that note, that does it for today's live stream. I will stream again soon. Thanks to everybody who has joined me. Please do consider supporting independent media if it's valuable to you with $1 or $2. You can do that at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. Really does make a difference to us.